Fight Mike here. Today we're going to be going through the UFC Abu Dhabi card that's going on the 26th of July this year, headlined by Robert Whittaker and Rainier Derrida. And just sort of breaking down the main card that they released yesterday, jumping in with the actual bout list here. You can see we've got main event, Robert Whittaker versus Rainier Derrida. Co-main event, 5-rounder, Movsar Evloev versus Aaron Pico. Petr Yan versus Marcus McGee as a feature fight, 3-rounder. Bryce Mitchell versus Saeed Nurmagomedov, Bryce Mitchell's bantamweight debut. Sharon Magomedov versus Marc-Andre Barriault. And Nikita Krylov versus Bogdan Guskov. The UFC have done themselves such a disservice by making this match. This is just like an overly stacked card that we just did not need. I'm not saying that I'm complaining that we've got a good fight night, but we need good pay-per-views better than we need good fight nights. I could happily have terrible fight nights every week. I could happily have like a mid-level fight night, like a UFC Seattle or like a UFC Apex even every week, as long as we get good pay-per-views. And this has literally robbed UFC 317, 318, and 319 of some really good matchups that we could have had. And there's just nothing we can do about it. There's nothing that will be changed. It's just because they've gone to Abu Dhabi that they've made these fights. And honestly, I'm sick of it. Like, it's actually such a pain that we have to pay $89 for a fight card. That's literally worse than the free one. So, let's break this fight card down a little bit more. If you look at the actual fights here and who's like a pay-per-view name, if you look at like a Robert Whittaker, he's a very much a pay-per-view name. Same thing with Rainier Derrida. Movsar Evloev, I would say, is the same. And Aaron Pico, I would say, even though he's not been, this is his debut in the UFC, I think he's a pay-per-view name as well. If you look at the Mario Bautista versus Patchy Mix fight, that one got a lot of shine just because it was a newcomer in the UFC, someone who looked really good outside of the UFC. Aaron Pico's sort of the same thing as that, where if we had him versus not Movsar Evloev, but him versus maybe like a Lerone Murphy on a pay-per-view, then we're looking at this like, hey, let's see if this guy's like good enough to be in the UFC. Whereas we're putting him up against a guy who's literally the number one contender and looks clearly the best guy in the UFC that's not Alexander Volkanovski in that featherweight division. So we're not really testing Aaron Pico out. We're kind of just throwing him to the wolves whilst he's going to have his UFC jitters, letting him lose to Movsar Evloev in a 5-round co-main event that, again, could have been on a pay-per-view. Petr Yan, he's very much a pay-per-view type guy. It would be a perfect feature fight. Or let's say for the UFC 319, a co-main event with him and Corey Sandhagen for a second time, or him versus Umar Nurmagomedov for a second time, or even him versus Marcus McGee as a 5-round co-main event for the Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway card. I'll just go to that card very quickly. Looking at this card here, so we've got Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier, we've got Marvin Vettori versus Brendan Allen, and they're the only ranked matchups until the prelims with Kyler Phillips and Vinicius Oliveira. We've got Islam Dulatov, who's literally going to be debuting on the main card of a pay-per-view. We are paying $80 to have worse fights than a free fight night. Let me just go back to it. Petr Yan, Movsar Evloev, even Nikita Krylov. It doesn't show his ranking here, but he's ranked. Bryce Mitchell was just on a pay-per-view. And now go to the pay-per-view. Marvin Vettori is the co-main event. We have Neil Magny, the Apex Warrior. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? We can't have Neil Magny as a feature fight on a pay-per-view. No one wants to pay to watch 40-year-old Neil Magny in a pay-per-view. I'm spitting everywhere. Oh my God. I'm in brutal rage right now. Why? Come on, like, okay, let's go to 319. We have 3 ranked matchups. I'm gonna start throwing things on my table right now. Like, look at these 3 ranked matchups. So, given Jared Cannonier versus Michael Page, that's a pretty fun fight. But even then, do we look at Jared Cannonier like a pay-per-view star? Like he hasn't fought his last 5 fights in the Apex. It's not actually 5 fights, but it feels like his last 5 fights have been in the Apex. When was the last time he fought in a pay-per-view? Tell me. You're not going to remember because he's literally not a pay-per-view fighter. I love Jared Cannonier. I love to watch him fight. And to be fair, he has had some pay-per-view-like performances. But we have Petr Yan on a fight night. Yeah, and he's not even the co-main event or the main event of the fight night. He's literally the feature fight of the fight night. And we have Jared Cannonier, the Apex Warrior, as a co-main event. If we go back to that card, look at this. So, this is the prelims. They haven't released all of the prelims for the UFC Saudi Arabia card. This is the prelims, and we've got 2 ranked flyweights. We have 2 ranked flyweights. Asu Almabayev is literally ranked number 11. Ramzan Terimov is ranked number 13. Let me just go back 1 second. We have, in the co-main event of a bloody pay-per-view that we're paying $80 for, we have Marvin Vettori versus Brendan Allen, who are ranked 10 and 11. Yet we've got 11 and 13 on prelims. I get it. Marvin Vettori and Brendan Allen, they've got some beef. They fought in a casino. Sure. We've still got just the way that I look at these rankings is that they're sort of like the representation of the level of skill that you present. So if we have got 2 people who have the same level of skill as people who are on the prelims on a co-main event of a pay-per-view that we pay $80 for, what are we doing? What are we doing? If we did not have this card, and we could just disperse a couple of these fights, we could throw a Movsar Evloev versus Aaron Pico. Let's not change the fights at all. You could throw a Movsar Evloev versus Aaron Pico on this card, and throw it as the co-main event, and now you have a respectable bloody card. Now you're looking at it, and then we've at least got, there's a number 1 contenders fight at least on this card. At least. You could put a Petr Yan versus Marcus McGee on this card, and it would be maybe a 5-round co-main event. Like, both of the co-main event and the feature fight on this card should be on pay-per-views. I would have been happy with having Nikita Krylov versus Bogdan Guskov co-main eventing this fight. I would be happy with Bryce Mitchell versus Saeed Nurmagomedov feature fighting this. We don't need these matchups on a bloody fight night. There's no reason to make this. We've got better fights on the prelims of a fight night than we do on the co-main event of a pay-per-view. What are we doing here? We can't even say that this is because we're saving the fights for the TV rights deal. No, we're not. We're putting them on fight nights. Look at the UFC Baku card this weekend. We've got Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree. We could have had Ignacio Bahamondes versus Rafael Fiziev 5-round main event that. Don't tell me we couldn't. And we could have had 317 be more stacked and had a feature fight of Khalil Roundtree versus Jamal Hill. What are we doing, UFC? So I'm sorry that you all had to listen to me yelling for the last 8 minutes, but I just had to put this out there. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Let me know what you think of the July 26th fight night in Abu Dhabi. Let me know if you think that this is actually good matchmaking and that they haven't overstacked these pay-per-views, and I'll gladly argue with you. So let me know what you think. Like and subscribe as always, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.